press presence. A couple of people walking in the door, but we'll get started. So I'm Liora Bram. I'm a partner at Media Strategies. Media Strategies is CCA's PR firm, so we work with Lucy Tutwiler and her team on building visibility and excitement for the shows. So I've been asked to moderate this panel, which sort of brings together the folks who are in the trenches. We've got the PR and marketing teams from the companies who are putting together your stories and taking them out to the media. And we've got the media folks who take those stories and tell them to the wider world. So we've got an hour today, and we're going to talk about what works, what doesn't work, how things have changed in all the years we have been doing this, how social media has sort of changed the way we communicate with our audiences, and share some case studies, share some best practices, and hopefully leave some time for questions at the end. Now, how many of you are from carriers, and how many from technology companies? Okay, so we've got a mix, which is nice, actually. I'm going to introduce the panel, and we cover sort of the whole world here. Next to me is Colleen Wright, who is the Assistant General Manager of Cellular Wannabe Central Illinois. For the past 16 years, you've had responsibility for media relations at the company, among other things. And prior to that, Colleen was actually a newspaper reporter and editor. So she actually brings both perspectives to the panel, which is kind of nice. Next to her is Jennifer Roberts, who was until recently the Partner Relations and Events Manager for ProtectCell. And she has recently moved into a sales role, so she brings two perspectives as well. She can talk about sort of how we do what we do, and she can also talk about how what we do supports sales, which is probably pretty important and a big question within your organization, so she can help us talk about that. On the media side, we have Tony Sklar, who is the host of BNet TV, and among other things, he'll be sharing strategies for using video to tell your story. In today's sort of hyper social media world, video is becoming more and more important, and Tony can talk a lot about how that works. Next to him is Dan Meyer. Dan is a longtime telecom and wireless industry journalist who is currently the editor of RCR Wireless News.
Yay panel! Yay! Let's get alive, people! Yay panel!
So we've gone through some introductions. We're going to have both Colleen and Jennifer share some case studies, what's worked for them specifically. After that, Tony and Dan are going to say a few words about their perspectives on the topic, and then we're going to jump right into some interactive discussion on the panel. You guys should feel free, if we hit a point that you're sort of particularly passionate about or have a question about, you guys should feel free to kind of raise your hand and stop us with questions. We typically leave those to the end, but this is that kind of interactive conversation where interrupting us is totally fine. So I'm going to turn it over to Colleen.
I'm going to talk first about making it local, since we are a local carrier. Our market is 11 counties in east central Illinois. We have a population of just over 275,000. Our largest county is under 81,000. Smallest county, just 9,600, and our largest city is under 33,000. We have 13 stores covering this. Basically, we have the traditional media, 30 newspapers, about 20 radio stations. Most of those have websites. We have no television stations originating out of our area. And with our population, you can understand, over 30 newspapers, 20 radio stations, some of their markets are pretty small. But they have very loyal followings in the communities. To get the media coverage in our areas, we can be the newsmakers. We have events, donations, prizes, scholarships, new stores, towers, staff, technology enhancements, experts on the industry news, and there are many more activities. I'll mention a few here. We have our city newspaper and radio stations, what we call city. As I said, our largest is just under 33,000. We have news on current topics, major events, and the community service that the city media is interested in. The small town newspapers and radio stations, that's where we really dominate. We know the editorial staffs. Many times they're our customers, and they just give us great coverage. And yes, we have a town of Seidel of 612 people that has a weekly newspaper. I'll just go through some of the things that we've done. Most of these I'm doing just the newspaper coverage, just for the fact that we are, we don't have time for the radio's interviews and all that we've had. And this, we have a holiday charity program where we invite people in the community to come in to our stores and vote for their favorite charity to receive a $500 donation from each of our stores. On this, the local newspaper came to take a picture, actually took a picture of our store leader getting a hug for the person who was receiving the check, and they printed the whole news release that we sent to them. This is a case that a donation to our fire department. One of our customers lost a young son and their home in a fire. We did a lot of things behind the scenes we didn't publicize for this family, but we also gave money for the fire department to buy smoke detectors for all the grade school kids. They were very traumatized. This boy got to bed at night and died in his bed in the fire, so we heard they were having a lot of problems with the kids being afraid to go to bed at night. That same newspaper, it was an 8-page paper that day. The second page had a story on our smartphone classes, and the 8th page had another story about another event we were doing, so we had quite a bit of coverage in it. Not that our area is plagued by fires, but this is another fire in another town that a tire recycling factory that when it burned, a lot of the homes had to be evacuated. They were covered in thick black smoke, so we opened our store up for people to drop off cleaning supplies for the local residents to use, and we also donated to a local center to help $5,000 to help people who needed assistance with their additional costs. And even events, we do summer cookouts in all our stores. Our management team goes to the stores and cooks, and here's our grill masters made a full color picture on the front page of the local newspaper. Things like prizes. I find that when we do our store events, we'll have occasional drawings. If we take a picture and I send the cut lines of the articles, we'll get coverage. It's just making the effort to get that done. Sharing our expertise, talking about the industry, our business, technology upgrades, gives us a great opportunity to share our story with the community leaders, and then we get press coverage from that. We can tell the story that we're privately owned, locally operated, how much we do as far as participating in the community and the charities, and that's what differentiates us from the bigger guys. And like I said, you can make news out of a lot of things. This is Val, the Valentine's Day clown, who went out to visit some local businesses and went to the newspaper and the radio station. So we receive coverage all day long on the radio station talking about it, and pictures in the newspaper. Some of these same events, Facebook coverage as well. When we went to the fire, the day of the fire, we took drinks and food for the local fire department. So we snapped a picture from Facebook, and it had 38 shares, reached 5,800 people, more than twice the number of followers we had. Then we create news events as well. As they were rising in fame, the Duck Dimes people, we contacted them about doing a fundraiser for a local nature education center used by thousands of the area grade school students every year. So Uncle Si and Jace agreed to come. Before we actually started selling tickets, though, we could tell by the demand, the calls we had, that we needed a second show, so we added another one to also to contribute to our homeless veterans program in the area. That's a favorite charity we've had all along, so we ended up with 2 shows and 2 benefits. And that, we just had coverage right from the time we announced it, to ticket sales updates, leading into the event, at the event, and the fundraising totals. And the newspaper, radio, the area television stations. I was even contacted by a national Christian radio network for an interview as well. On this, we partnered with the media as well, the local radio station and newspaper, so they provided news coverage throughout as well as free advertising. And we were featured, this is not even one of our releases, but it was pulled out as a headline on events coming up at the Civic Center where we were hosting the shows. This is coverage we had in the Champaign, Illinois newspaper. That's not in our area, but it feeds into at least 5 of our counties with circulation. And it's really hard for us typically to get coverage, but this show, we received it. And this is another local town in the area, not where we had the show, but we became everybody's favorite friend when we had press passes and tickets to trade. And this is a nice headline in our local paper, over 100,000. We also, for a variety of reasons, had not launched Facebook before this. Some planned, some unplanned. So when we launched this, we immediately, within days, had 1,280 new likes, over 2,500 likes in a few weeks. We also tied this in with the flip text short code from IDC, oh my God, Cellular, and gave away tickets and chances for shirts and other prizes on Facebook. And we even posted that this is a photo with no words. It's Uncle Si sitting in a camouflaged autograph in his recliner. He got 326 likes, and over 7,000 people reached it. And we had fantastic results. 2 shows sold out. We donated nearly $105,000 with ticket sales and raffles and eBay auctions. And we got lots of media coverage from 2 agencies, the Education Center and the Homeless Veteran Program, as well as Cellular One. And, which made us all, from you Duck Dynasty fans out there, happy, happy, happy. And take questions, whatever.
Yeah, so Colleen, I actually have a question. So it sounds like your media efforts are really focused on your consumers, on your subscribers. What have you noticed in terms of additional engagement with them, sort of after some of these campaigns?
Well, we get a lot of store traffic, people commenting on it, and so, and like I said, in these small towns, it's a little different from the large city newspapers. When these papers come out, they pick it up immediately to look at, to see if their child or grandchild's pictures in the paper, or their next door neighbor was arrested, something like that, or the obituaries. So they do have a great following, and so and we always have comments when we're in, and they are being read and listened to.
That's great. Now, how about using them for? You talked a little bit about industry thought leadership and sort of how you use your industry expertise to get coverage. Do you feel like you're able to get some of your policy priorities or perspectives out there in the market as well?
Yes. I've been working with the Illinois Telecommunications Association, and we have some 911 legislation coming up, and so we're getting our story out there along those lines, as well as working with the legislators.
That's great. So I'd ask Tony and Dan too.
I have a question.
Oh yeah.
I have a question. Okay, so Colleen, the social media aspect of what you've done. By the way, great job, absolutely fantastic. How is the company mandating turning that into ARPU? What is that relationship? Is there a sightline for it? Do you have a map for it?
Well, we're not quite as organized as I'd like to be.
Fair enough. I mean,
we are gathering the data.
It's not a direct relationship. Right. There might be some mazed patterns to it, but you've got some effort out there, and inevitably, really, at the end of the day, corporate communications, corporate marketing, the money that you're spending, the initiatives, all fantastic, but you got to turn it into money somehow. And is that a focus, or is it just community outreach?
No, ultimately we need to make money to stay alive. So that's why.
Fair enough. So sort of back to my original question, how are you doing that? Or have you not figured that out yet, which is okay?
On the social media side of things, like I said, we just did launch just the last couple of months, so we are gathering the data together. And
okay.
We really haven't implemented this fully.
That's fair.
Yet.
Okay. And if anybody else has any question in the audience, please don't. I don't want to dominate it out here. Dan?
You're doing well.
All right. All right. Well, that's a wrap, guys.
So Jen has a case study as well. Turn the mic over to her. This one.
So, welcome everybody. I am here from ProtectCell, and you already know my name is Jennifer Roberts. I have been a marketing manager for just over 6 years at ProtectCell, and now I'm moving into a role as a sales manager. And so I want to tell you what we've done over the years and to see if you can translate it to what you could do. Use the same ideas and apply it to your business. And we are a fairly young company, just about 7 years old, and we've had our growing pains. You know, we got off to a slow start, and then we've recently grown at a very rapid rate, about 800% over 4 years. So we've had some really great traction. And how we got started was, our company was founded by a retail, cell phone retailer, and he was just not satisfied with the customer service provided by the existing handset protection company, so he decided to create his own. So he developed that, and we developed it into a mobile security plan that includes different types of protection: handset protection, ID protection, data protection. And what makes us different is we approach this from the beginning with the retailer in mind, and we want to help them increase their revenue and their customer satisfaction. So I think the first step in creating a press presence is to determine what is newsworthy. And some ideas for things are new product launches. And for a carrier, it might be that you're carrying a new device. For us, it's that we cover a new device. We had a press release that went out today, and as a matter of fact, that we covered the new iPhone S. And I think new partnerships are important. We developed a partnership with LifeLock, and we sell their identity theft protection program. Another thing that's important is senior management change. We recently hired a new chief sales officer who is pretty well known in the industry, and that's great national news. Now, if you're operating at a more local level, you may hire, I don't know, I don't want to simplify it too much, but football, the football star from the local high school or something like that, that would be big news in your area. Applying for and winning awards. We have successfully applied for some awards like the Stevie Awards for Sales and Customer Service and the Alfred P. Sloan Award for Excellence in the Workplace. Also, along with awards, we celebrate our milestones, our 1 millionth plan sold, and we make a big deal about it. And the other thing that's important to talk about is philanthropy. One of our, something that's very important to us is to give back to the community. So we have a program called Mission 321. And this year we're going to help support 3 families through the Salvation Army. That's the 3. The 2 is that we give our employees 2 days a year to do charitable work and 2 days a year for personal enrichment. And the 1 is we try to support 1 local organization every month with good work donations. Some examples of some of the good works, the individual works that we're doing. Next month we're going to have a chili cook-off and food drive. And so in order for us to participate in our chili cook-off, we have to contribute canned goods to the food drive. Another suggestion is last month we did a backpack drive for a local organization that was donating them to children that can't afford to provide their own school supplies. So the last thing I wanted to share with you is how we get the word out. We do press releases. We do press releases on all the things that I've been talking about, but we distribute them differently. For instance, when we have a senior management change, we will announce that nationally, and with the intent of having it picked up by the industry. We got the Cranes Salute to Young Entrepreneur honor recently, and that was distributed through the local or the regional press. An example of distributing something in the local press is that this is also something that's very, very local. We support a local soccer club, a kids soccer club. So we did a press release, we sent it out to the local paper, but what we did, because some local papers don't have a lot of resources, is we packaged that for them. We take a picture of the kids in their shirts that we provided, we provide them with a headline, we provide them with a press release, so they, it makes it easier for them to run that story for us. And also, all of our press releases are posted on our website. We often do blog posts on our website, sometimes related to the press release, sometimes in addition to the press release. And then we share the information through Facebook and Twitter. Just about every press release is tweeted out. And we also leverage other organizations. We follow other organizations in the industry, and we retweet their things, and they retweet things for us. So, you know, in a very small nutshell, that is how we get the word out about our company.
So Jennifer, how do you prioritize national versus local press? Or sort of what's important to your organization? How do you sort of target business versus local versus wireless press?
Well, I think that our first decision is what are we doing that's newsworthy, and then we look at what is the proper channel to circulate it, because a national paper isn't, or website isn't, might not care about the kids' soccer team, but they're going to care about something that's a nationwide concern.
Right.
And local papers may not care about what the national scene is. They want to know what's going on in their community.
Right. So from a goal for you, from a business development goal, you know, what's the mix? How much national press, how much local press? I think, you know, obviously you're a community-minded organization, so you're really interested in getting visibility in your local community, but how does national press impact your business?
So we want to increase awareness. We're not primarily a direct-to-consumer organization, we're a B2B organization, so we want to increase the awareness in the community that we have a product to provide. So, but then we also have another mission, and that's mission 321, so, you know, we dedicate a certain amount of our energy to that as well.
Well, I have lots of questions. First of all, I think that a lot of the stuff that you had in your PowerPoint was absolutely fantastic, and clearly you've got you got a plan. You got a plan that's working for you. I very much appreciate the idea of taking on the role of disseminating news to your customers, which I think is really important. You know, there's lots of sources out there to get your news from, but in local markets, which I'm not necessarily as intelligent in, because I live in New York City. So for me, there's a consistent bombardment of news and news sources every 5 seconds. But, you know, being in a rural market, it's going to be, I would think that it would be tough for the local papers to inevitably get their stories into the hands of the users. So taking on that role, I think is absolutely fantastic. I think allowing the customer, the user, to tailor their own experience is probably something that I'm assuming that you're looking to do for them. Whether it's RSS stripping things, whether news stories are just being submitted to a particular site for you, and then that news inevitably is being disseminated out to your customers. So it's a little bit more seamless for you. I would suspect that would be kind of something that's in the hopper. Maybe, no.
Yeah. No, we target the organizations that we want to see. We use, we have the luxury of using a service to that actually identifies which channels we want to disseminate.
So I can understand. How many people here use Google News as an application on their device? Okay, a few. How many people consistently utilize the device to get their news, other than a TV set? Okay, so we got a lot of hands going up. So, you know, it's the, you know, what is news today? What was news 10 years ago, and what is news going to be like in 5 years, in 2 years, in 10 years, and how do you put that into the hands of the public and engage with them at the same time? And that's something that I think that probably, if I could get a show of hands in here, if people who are actively doing that right now? Okay, so that's a lot of people. Everybody's doing it. We got one. So, and Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, you and I sort of deal with this on a daily basis. Putting news into the hands of the user.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a challenge, I think, for the smaller companies to get in front of the right media sources. And if you can take it on yourself, it's probably a good way to ensure at least that your message is getting out there to at least, somebody out there. I mean, it might not get picked up by a big news source, but yeah, to be aggressive and get it out there at least to people who want to follow you, want information. You have to do that. That's a given, I think. So yeah, to be able to do that, that's a good, at least a good starting point. But
I don't think that either one of your organizations is inevitably looking to disseminate news to anything other than probably your local community if it's local. If it gets picked up by some sort of national source, great, fantastic, but probably not your primary target, right? Keeping the community as a whole engaged is a great thing. So sort of going that next step from print, which Colleen, I think that you guys utilize a lot of, right, is sort of print, and you sort of stepped into that social media realm, which is a difficult one. And again, I'm going to ask the audience a question here. How many of you right now have Facebook up on some sort of device? Right? Well, for sure I knew the eye, right? So there's a number of people because, again, it's a news source, right? Yeah, there's some social engagement with your peer group, but it's also got a news quality to it in some fashion. And again, I'm going to ask another question. How many people are tweeting or are reading some sort of Twitter right now? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? You're tweeting the panel. Clearly news, obviously, right? Totally newsworthy. I like that. So, that all being said, I can very much understand how in a local market, disseminating that information to your customers is going to give active user engagement and inevitably is going to lead to ARPU, right?
So let's go national for a minute though, because
national.
Both of you, I think, have a unique perspective, Dan and Tony, on small companies actually do have something to say on the national scale. I think sometimes the news is dominated by larger companies, but very often I think, sorry, I'm being told that the mic is not close enough to me. So I'm saying that smaller companies have something to say on the national scale, so I'd be interested to hear from both of you.
I got something. I know it. I know what I want to say.
Excellent. So tell me, how can small companies stand out and make it to the national scale?
There is got to be, and I'm going out on a limb here, just as a reporter, there's got to be a difference in the perspective on how somebody in a rural market looks at a new device versus somebody in a metropolitan market space that looks at a new device. So let's just take the new iPhone as an example, right? How does somebody in the local market view it? Is it too much of a phone? Is it too overwhelming because there's just so much information in there that and I don't know. This is a question to both of you because definitely in a major city, in a metropolis city, in something like New York for sure, every 5 seconds somebody is tweeting and Facebooking and pushing out news articles about a new device. One says it's really crappy and the other says it's the best thing since sliced bread and never two in twain will meet, but there's 10,000 articles about the same thing. And I'm assuming you from a local perspective, that's going to be different and important. Go.
Well, there was a session yesterday, they talked about the survey of rural users, and I think it showed that they're as interested in the new devices as the urban users. But we, as far as getting the information on it though, that we provide that, the national media provides that, so they have multiple sources on that.
But I think sometimes you may be able to offer a different perspective, right? So as a local carrier, we're seeing this from our customers.
Yeah.
Or as a local carrier, in some cases, we're not able to get this device. But here's what customers are using, and don't forget to cover this device too.
Yes.
Yeah, I would suggest, I suggest that carriers or all the companies really have an idea of what's going on the calendar. If you know a device is coming out that's going to be launched, be proactive and have something maybe ready to send out that day to your media sources. Say, hey, I know you're covering this iPhone launch. If you're looking for a perspective from smaller carriers, here's some information that might interest you on this. Give us a call. Or if the company's going to announce something and you want to announce something too, try not to plan your announcements on those same days. If someone's announcing the iPhone on a Monday, don't announce that you're doing something special in the community that day, because it might get kind of overlooked. So always be aware of your calendar. So take advantage of it. Put yourself out there as being knowledgeable on a different perspective. Because I think, again, most people probably in larger markets don't think of, hey, how's this going to impact, the people in smaller markets. And I think it's an important thing to cover. So be proactive and send out, hey, little reminders. Don't reason to be pushy, but just say, if you want some information on this, contact us, we're here. But in the same vein too, make sure you have people available who can talk about it as well. I know, for myself at least, when you're on a time constraint, if you get some sources in and you want to talk to someone, and no one's available. I know at small companies, you don't have a lot of people just standing around waiting for media to call. But have someone who's perhaps knowledgeable on the source, on the topic, who might be on the field somewhere, but who they can reach fairly quickly to contact for a few questions on something. So be proactive, but have people on staff who are ready to handle questions if you need them on short notice. It's maybe a good way to stay on your toes. And I know you mentioned earlier about having kind of packages of having pictures ready and sending out stuff like that. That's a great thing to do too. I know a lot of companies, a lot of press, again, short on time, short on staff, as many small companies are. If you've got pictures available, feel free to share those. That always helps out, whether it's online or in print. If you have this stuff available, use those sources and then help out if you can in those ways. I think it's a great
I want to add in, I want to jump in on just the idea that I'm going to make the assumption that y'all don't want to also start to be news agencies, right? It's not really your primary focus as a business. So although I agree with you, having some at-hand things to disseminate quite quickly, having a number to the local person at the newspaper as well to just be like, listen, that's not my department, here you go, boom, right? Or have it available on the website or something. And it doesn't have to be just technology either. I guarantee you, both Dad and I would love to have a pumpkin cookie recipe around Halloween time, right? And the rural markets are going to have better recipes than some of the bigger markets. So it doesn't necessarily have to be about technology. It could be anything.
So you bring up a good point, right? I feel like in working with reporters that you guys are getting your story ideas from news sources, right? Company blogs, tweets going back and forth, things you see trending on Twitter, or LinkedIn groups. So can you both talk a little bit about how companies can use those outlets to get into the conversation?
Well, I'm Val, the Valentine's Day clown, so I don't really know a lot about that. Dan, why don't you take that?
No, yeah, I mean, obviously, that's you want to make sure you're on all those types of sources. I mean, obviously, if you have a Twitter account, you want to make sure you get your news out that way. Because you're right, the reporters are checking those things, especially when it comes to smaller companies. It's an easy way to kind of aggregate some information. So, obviously, be very open and aggressive on using Twitter and Facebook and different social media like that to get your news out there. I mean, even if it's just a little reminder of something that, hey, we're still here. This is a topic, let us know if you want to talk to us about it. I mean,
are you aware of, do you know kind of who's following you, who's actively engaging with your tweets as you're tweeting? Do you kind of make note, wow, this company's really following me, they're responding, they're retweeting me?
Are you asking us that?
I'm asking you guys, yeah.
Oh, well, for VNet TV, absolutely. We have one person in particular who monitors like a hawk, right? Who's on it, who's retweeting, what's going on. There's a lot of alerts that go off on a regular basis.
And does it help you? Does it help the person?
I think so. I think it helps us gauge from a conference perspective for sure. Which information is being disseminated to whom and who is retweeting things, who has put it up on their corporate Facebook pages and whatnot. Actually, a great question to augment that is, do either of your companies utilize any sense of video on any sense of social media, Facebook being the starting point? Don't both answer at the same time.
We have had, not a lot, like I said, we haven't done a lot with it yet. We have had a video of an event on there. One thing, what you were saying on the technology, we offer smartphone classes, so I try to tie those in. When something comes out that we have a class come up, and we do those in each of our stores. We spread those out, and that's promoted not only news stories, but through local broadband groups, Chamber of Commerce's through our Facebook,
Does it work?
Twitter. Yes.
Yeah,
we get
yeah,
good
you get good coverage.
Yeah. I think kind of like Tony was saying too, I mean, I think you need to have maybe someone focused in your organization on some of those social media outlets. I mean, either participating in them, monitoring them. I mean, you want to have someone out there who's kind of seeing what's happening out there. Even just to hear what people are saying about your company, if you interact with people. I mean, if someone sends you a message on Facebook, you want to get back to them fairly quick. If one of your customers, whoever it is, you want to just be able to be very proactive and interacting with different people, whether it's customers or news outlets or whoever it is. So you might have maybe someone on board who's familiar with a lot of them, who might be, using some of the new apps on the phones, whether it's Vine or something to put videos up as well. I mean, there's so many things out there that you guys can use now, and all it takes is one of the phones you already have. You can do a video to do anything. You can do it all so inexpensively and easily that, you have to take advantage of all those as you can. They're out there, easy to use. I mean, we use them. Take advantage of those things. That's what I suggest to everybody. Make sure you have someone on staff who's familiar with that and who's not their job, but someone who's kind of tasked with looking after this kind of stuff.
Jen, Jen didn't get to answer the idea if they had video on their site or something.
We do not use a lot of video on our site. We do have some video representation out there on YouTube. So we have our own little social site for our stores. The store reps can sign up for something called ProtectCell University, and they can get trainings, and we push notifications out to them and ask them to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And they tend to post a lot of things, and we do have someone assigned to monitoring all that, responding, even if it's just thanking them for participating in something, but we watch for customer issues and respond to them there. And some of those people out there they've done videos of how to sell ProtectCell for us, and we've had some community things out there on YouTube as well. So,
how many people in this room currently are utilizing any sense of video through their social media outlets? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5, 6, 7 3/4. Okay, so my next question is going to be, why are the rest of you not using it? And if you want to stand up and give us some of the reasons why, I think that would be really good interaction. Nobody jump at once. So then the rest of you are comfortable with not using video through your corporate communications. Raise your hand if you're not interested in using video in your corporate communications. Okay, but you're not asking the questions. All right, that's fair. How many people in the audience have utilized a media campaign during a holiday or a Hallmark holiday of some sort, like a Mother's Day, a Grandmother's Day, or something, to engage with their users? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, ladies, what have you guys? Is that something that's sort of an active thing? Hey, it's Halloween, right? Let's get some of those cookie recipes going on.
well, we do contests like over the holidays, and last year we had a big contest for our sales representatives, and then we also tied it. We also tied it into a local philanthropy. We had the contest for our sales reps, and they could win a fantastic prize. But we also did a donation to Boys and Girls Club simultaneously. And we advertised that or promoted that through social media, as well as the press.
No questions yet? Not one question. There we go. All right.
Can you and Dan tell us some of the best pitches you get from PR people and from companies, and some of the worst?
Do not identify the worst.
Do not identify the worst. Yeah. No, I mean I think it'd be very interesting to hear about some of the ways companies use social media to reach you, some really unique type pitches, and what attracts your attention, what doesn't. And we know that you don't want, we know we're not supposed to call you after we send you an email.
Well, that's actually a good point, right? Because it used to be, I'm sure you guys remember, when we actually used to call reporters, and that isn't really done as much anymore. So are you getting your pitches through, tweets? Email what works.
Dan, you want to take it first?
I still email. I rely on all that. I don't definitely. Phone calls are tricky just because of I think most reporters are usually on deadline of some sort, so phone calls are always tricky to handle. But emails are always good. When someone, it's hard to say what are good pitches, what are bad pitches. I mean, reporters, I think most of them are human, and so we have our own ups and down days, and so some days things hit us different ways than other days do. So you don't want to go too overboard with a pitch, but you also want to have some fun with them. You don't want to be so buttoned down that it's just another subject line. You want to make sure you're at least putting some color in there, but you give a limited amount of time, whether it's a tweet or whatever you're doing. You only have so much time to do it. So it's just tricky. You don't want to, if you can do something different, that usually sticks out a bit. I try to avoid, people who try to take advantage of certain situations that are perhaps happening in the world. You don't want to be insensitive to certain things. You have to be careful of that. I've had some pitches in the past which were definitely not very, very, very well done, I would say. So you just have to be careful how you do things. So, and again, the more you know the reporters you're pitching to, the more you might know the personalities. Some people react differently to different things. So, and that's kind of hard to track sometimes. So it depends. I mean, it's
So how about, sort of product or company pitches versus trend pitches?
Trend pitches are definitely much better. I mean, if you can somehow tie in what your announcement is to a trend, that will probably get a better chance of being picked up. Again, the big carriers, for them, they set the trend. So, but as a smaller company, unless you're targeting local media, if you're trying to target national media, a trend way would be a better way to pitch that. So again, that's kind of going back to looking at the calendar. If something's going on that you know about, that you also can participate in, reach out and let them know that, hey, we're part of this too, this is happening. You just kind of want to reach out that way, I think.
So what would you say to a company who says, yeah, I get what you're saying about trends, but I'm afraid if I go too broad, you're going to write about my competitor too?
Well,
shouldn't be afraid about your competitor.
Yes.
I guess that's sort of the thing. Never, ever, ever, ever be afraid about your competitor. If you are, you shouldn't be in the game.
And I think for a lot of the rural carriers, most of the rural carriers don't compete with each other anyway. If you're talking about a carrier perspective, if a rural carrier is in a market next to another one and they're both doing something similar, there's no reason not to mention that they're doing this, hey, we're doing this too, this is part of the
And compare.
That's
You
what
might
we're
as
doing,
well. You might as well give the journalist reporter all the information up front. First of all, it lessens the amount of work that we got to do, which is fantastic. And yeah.
It cuts down on any sort of misinformation too. So I'd say if you have something that's better than your competitor, name the competitor. Say, hey, this is what they do, this is what we do, this is why we're better.
Absolutely.
There's no reason not to be afraid of it.
I also think it depends on how you want to utilize the end piece to begin with. You come to a conference, like the CCA conference, and there's a bunch of press running around on the floor. Everybody's garnering stories, right? Some people are looking at infrastructure. Some people are looking at billing solutions. Some people are looking at the 2-tier and 2-3 carriers. Some people are looking at MVNOs, and some people are doing everything. But at the end of the day, if Dan writes an article, or if we write an article, if we do some video, what do you want to do with it? Because we're going to put it out there, and it's going to get some traction, but is it going to get more traction in your rural area, and are you going to take that story and retweet it? Are you going to repost it on your Facebook? Are you going to disseminate it to your customer base to say, hey, look at where we were, look at what we've done, and here's some information about our company? And if you don't do that, you can't expect us to do it, right? We're limited in the scope of what we can do, plus we don't know your market space as well as you do.
Right, yeah, so what is the value to you guys, Colleen and Jennifer, of some of that national press and sort of retweeting it, and does it sort of help build community or pride in your communities and with your employees and customers?
Yes, it builds awareness in the industry and with our customers.
So we're building off that, back to Tony and Dan, when you're at a trade show, what are you looking for? Because there's a lot of press releases, right? We're at booth X and we're showing X. While you're walking the floor, are you trying to draw trends out of what you're seeing from the different companies? What can companies do to sort of stand out in that sea of come see us at booth number X?
You go first.
I'm usually looking for a drink and some food. But
I'm with Dan.
beyond that, I mean, I guess different press handle trade shows differently. I know for myself, I'm usually pretty slammed with meetings, and so I'm usually got my head down, walking to my next meeting. So I'm probably not the most personable person at these shows. So I apologize for that.
So
I'm
how far in
about
advance
so
of the
I'm
show?
But
How far in advance of the show should people get in touch with you to try to get on your calendar?
I would definitely say it's probably a multi-step process. I would say probably a month ahead of time, then maybe 2 weeks ahead of time, and perhaps 1 week ahead of time. But then after that, I would probably not, because at that point, usually schedules are full. But I mean, if, I definitely, the month ahead of time, at least gets you kind of, at least wakes the reporter up to say, hey, the show's coming up, because I forget half the time where I'm going.
Right.
And so that month ahead of time usually wakes us up, and in a couple weeks, you start making your plans, and so hey, if you have any time left, but, and I usually don't have any problem. I don't have any problem with people being somewhat pushy, because I know you have a job to do, and but don't take it wrong if I just ignore the emails, because again, we do get a few emails for every show, so it's hard to answer all of them.
I'm gonna jump in here. It's pretty simple to get attention of a reporter. So you find us in a bar, you sit down, you give us a couple of beers, and you say, hey, tomorrow, do you think we could meet? Chances are we're gonna say yes. Absolutely, that's a surefire way of doing it.
Well, how do we find you? Because you don't wear your badges in the bar.
Well, that's true. You just gotta get in the know, really, no kidding. We got a question.
I want to bring it back to the video, since you were trying to pull it out of us. Question about using video and social media. So I think there's a quality concern or issue, right? So getting a video done by like a Vimeo or one of these companies that will do one for you costs upwards of $20,000-$30,000.
It does, you're
right?
correct.
And so what are kind of what's the best practice about if you can't afford, if your company can't afford to do one of those type of videos? I mean, is it bad practice to post one that you kind of need in the office?
No, not at all. You're correct that it can be quite expensive to do a corporate video piece. If you want a video company to come out and professionally do something, you know what? It's going to be a little bit pricey. However, in a rural market, if I were running the marketing department, I'd jump up and say, you know what? I want to hire the video crew, but I'm going to take care of the rest of the script and talent myself. And talent should be local people using their phones. It should be, I love the local high school football team, sports teams stuff. I think that is extremely engaging to your customers. I think personally, I always think food is a good thing to cover, right? The local restaurants, the local coffee shop, that kind of thing. So to package that all together, sort of to bring it back to answer your question, you can do it for pretty inexpensive, right? You can cut things very inexpensively, and it doesn't need to be a 5-minute long piece, right? You can do lots of 15-second little clips for your Facebook pages, for your Twitters, for your LinkedIns, and things like that. Then you got to be able to silo those particular projects and say, okay, I want my Facebook stuff to look a little bit more community oriented and have the sort of a little bit more of a local flavor, like the sports teams, and then the cookie recipe. I'm dying for the cookie recipe. And for your Twitter stuff, maybe it's a little bit more news oriented. Today on the corner of Main and Broadway, everybody has a Main and Broadway. This happened, right? And it's a 15-second little clip of something brought to you by Cellular One. And I think that those are great little bits for your LinkedIn stuff. Maybe it's got to be a little bit more professionally tailored to something that your community is engaged in. So, you can't, I don't think that you should lump all three of them together. I think they're siloed. I think they all have different uses. I don't think that it needs to be very expensive. And to enter the market space, just to get your feet wet, I would get out there and give it a try. You're gonna know right away if it doesn't work, especially on Facebook, right? Does a like mean that it's press-worthy? Or is the community just going, yeah, that's cute, like a cat pooping at a Frisbee, right? So you kind of have to gauge the difference sort of between the two, because one, you don't want one overlapping the other, because the same people may like the cat pooping and the frisbee, and they may like the cute little short video that you put up. So you got to be able to know your marketplace. You got to know what you're looking for.
I have
If that
another-
answers your question. Sorry.
I have another suggestion about how you can do it economically. We engaged a local high school that had a film program to do the videos for us.
Excellent idea.
And in exchange for that, we made a donation to the program so they could invest in more equipment. And they came with some of the funniest, engaging film that I've seen.
Round of applause for Jen on that one, everybody. That's an excellent idea. Absolutely fantastic. More questions? Come on, guys. You're here to learn. Or you're here to sleep, I don't know. Or gamble.
I have a question about Facebook.
Okay.
So as a business on Facebook, there's a fine line between engagement and just being annoying with posts.
Good point, yeah.
So is there a magic number of daily posts? I mean, where do you cross
It's
that
12, right?
I think it is 12.
12
Yeah,
is
no. So roulette is 12.
I think it's more about what's in them,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen some companies who
Yeah.
post just to post, and that's annoying.
Yeah.
But people who post often with useful information, I think, are appreciated.
I
But
think-
it's quality, not quantity.
I-
Do you guys agree?
I think that your question, if we or anybody else knew that answer, we'd be the billionaires. I don't think that I don't think that anybody has quantified it yet. It's a very, very difficult thing because Jen may think that a particular amount of posts, 12 or less than, is extremely annoying, right? But Colleen may be like, well, 12's not enough. I need to know more. I got to know more, right? What's going on? That's a really difficult question.
Yeah.
And I hate to put a number out because then people just post.
Yeah, that's
sloppy
true. Yeah,
things,
it's tricky.
right?
Yeah, usually people who sign up for social media are looking for some sort of interaction, and so I would almost err on the side of too much than too little because I think they're looking for that. That's why they're on Facebook anyway. They're not on Facebook just to check it once a week. So yeah, and I would say err probably on the side of too much. And again, it's easy enough to turn off notifications, or if they're getting too much, they'll let you know. So.
But I think, Dan, you make a good point. Just posting stuff that nobody really would react to or do anything with
It's not relevant.
is kind of But if
Yeah.
people are compelled to comment, or you're posting questions
Yes.
or contests, things that people take action with, I think that's a lot more powerful.
Contests are always a good thing. I very much enjoyed the awards that you did. I think that announcing things like that and having those particular contests is absolutely fantastic.
The other thing I think people are doing more of are polls on LinkedIn. So in groups, you can start polling people. And I think people, so they like to opine on things, right? And they remember your brand because you've asked them, for their opinion.
How many people in the audience, from a corporate standpoint, from a marketing and communication standpoint, is using LinkedIn as a tool to engage with their users? 1, 2.5, 3, maybe 3. Okay, so if that's the case, how many people want to use LinkedIn for that purpose?
Is it relevant to you?
So not a lot. So you guys aren't really looking to use that as.
That's my question, is it relevant?
Is it relevant? That's a great question.
On a
Is it?
B2B level, I would say yes. B2C,
Probably not.
different, right? I guess you then be slicing interest groups and things. It's a little bit different. I think on a B2B level, from a business development perspective, we're seeing it more and more, but probably less B2C.
I would very much agree with that from a store perspective, from a business to the store as a communication line for the classes to engage. I think that's a great thing. I think LinkedIn can be utilized as a tool like that. More questions?
We have like 3 minutes left.
Who is going to the cocktail reception? 1, 2, 3.5, all right? Who is tweeting about us right now? 1, 2, 3. Question?
Yeah, this was for Colleen. Hi, Colleen. So for your 11 counties, did you market, like now, right now is football season, for instance, so have you marketed something around high school football and getting the kids involved in it? Because obviously with parents buying their cell phones for kids at younger ages now, that's a great market to tap. Have you done things like that, or?
We do things on especially on a local level, where we can go to the schools, be involved with the schools.
You had success with it in terms of more users, or just the notoriety, or?
Well, it gets our name out there, because we're always competing with, again, it's the differentiator. You don't see AT&T and Verizon at the local football games, throwing out T-shirts, doing things like that.
Brand recognition, brand loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, do you feel like that's one way you can compete? So we know us, we're your neighbors.
Oh, definitely. We use that, we have an ad campaign, and we're your picket fence, and we're your neighbors. We play on that a lot. It's a fine line between looking too local, though, because we do provide national coverage, and that we offer the same things the big guys do. So we walk that line all the time, to make sure that we don't come across too much as the guy next door.
Yeah, I definitely invest in a t-shirt campaign. I mean, it's go out to those events and shoot t-shirts out to people. It's, don't hurt anybody doing it, but.
If we had a t-shirt thing in here right now, I would be firing that stuff at all you people. It'd be awesome. Right over there, I would be like, yeah.
Oh yeah, but you just gotta have fun with the marketing aspect of it. I mean, obviously with the local market, you're gonna know your customers more, so you can be a little more yourselves, and have fun with it, and don't be afraid to kind of take local issues and make it just have more local angle and fun with it. That's I suggest to you. So.
Questions? Last questions?
More?
Come on, you guys. It's just resting stuff for you.
So 2 announcements before you all go. Make sure you fill out your evaluations and hand them to the room monitor as you walk out. And do not forget the reception starting now on the show floor. See you all there.
Thank you, Liora. Thank you, Colleen. Thank you, Jen.
All together.